Dorothy Lange was a documentary photographer and photojournalist. She was special, unique, different. She's best known for her Depression-era work while commissioned by the Farm Security Administration during the days of FDR. Dorothea Lange's photos humanized the effects and the consequences of the Great Depression that actually influenced the area of documentary photography. In 1919, when Dorothea was in her 20s, just 13 years after the 1906 San Francisco Great Earthquake, she, along with a friend, decided to travel the world. And one of those stops was in San Francisco. Something happened there. The money was stolen. They were pickpocketed, so their travel stopped. They were stranded. What to do? Dorothy approached her friends in San Francisco and got a backer to help her open her own photography studio. It was successful. It was a good time for her, and the right time because San Francisco was rebuilding still. Corporations and big businesses was moving in. Politicians was interested. Wealthy people, they all want the same thing. They want something that Dorothea Lange had. They want an individual, family, and corporate portraits taken. Her experience as an apprentice with a professional photographer in New York provided the foundation for her success. Dorothea Lange's most famous and internationally recognized photograph of Florence Owens Thompson, better known as the Migrant Mother, became an iconic image of a mother with 3 children all stranded in Napoma, California in 1936 near a pea-picking farm. It was later, many years later, in an interview with Miss Thompson that she commented that she was ashamed of looking back at her life in poverty of nothingness. But the children saw their mother differently, and was proud of her. The mother sacrificed for her family and saw the mom as a symbol of strength during tough times in life. The scene of the migrant worker was the last snapshot out of the 6 frames taken in Dorothea Lange's camera. The migrant mother's image presented a message that brought awareness to the rest of the country about the effects of the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl. The image of the migrant mother has been presented worldwide in documentaries and posters and made into a theatrical play. It's published in different variety of magazines and even put on the image of a stamp. And it's always been talked about through the different eras of time. The Dust Bowl event was devastating to thousands of people in the central region of the states. Farms were destroyed. Drought set in, making lands unfarmable. People were out of work, unemployed. Dust was everywhere, covering everything. What to do? The Dust Bowl forced people to make decisions. Majority of them decide to move west, towards the western states like California. Thousands and thousands was challenged on a long journey. Humanity struggled to help each other along the way. California was concerned because of the thousands of people coming. At one time, they called these traveling immigrants Okies. Didn't matter if they were from Oklahoma or not. The majority of them were not. But they called them Okies anyway. Dorothea Lange's work also documented the visual stories of the struggles and effects of the Great Depression. During the time, Lange photographed unemployed people wandering and sleeping in the streets of San Francisco, and she also captured the people in long food lines waiting for their free meal of the day. These were powerful images of people that had nothing, just nothing left, and her photographs were presented to gain attention, public attention, and helping the government to visualize the seriousness of the matter. People's lives change again a few years later as World War II gains the world's attention. Dorothea Lange was called upon by the U.S. government to document the transfer and forced internment of the Japanese living in the United States, going to internment camps in the cities like San Bruno and Manzanar in California. It didn't matter if you were a U.S. citizen or not. All people with Japanese heritage must be relocated so that Japanese people had to leave their businesses and homes on short notice. Some that lost their property on their return, but some were fortunate with friends that were non-Japanese helped to keep and care for the properties until they returned from their internment. 8,000 photographs of the Japanese internment were censored and was kept in secret in the National Archives in 2006. The question is why? When the military reviewed the photographs by Dorothea Lange of the Japanese, they realized something here. The photos were a critical display of the U.S. government, showing that it was not necessary, it's unjustified, and a racist display against the Japanese. After the war, Dorothea Lange traveled south, visiting different states and trying to capture the scenes of life in the farm. During the Depression, black people made up more than half of the country's tenant farmers, sharecroppers, and farm workers. When jobs were scarce, black sharecroppers were often forced out of work by the white ones. No group was hard hit than African Americans. Within the pictures you see is that we realize that Dorothea Lange had a heart for children. The picture is a scene of smiling faces, of sense of innocence in their lives, compared to their adult families where they spend their time in the fields, which is hard work. Dorothea Lange continued her passion of photography overseas by taking pictures of people. In the early 1960s, she found out her life would be shortened because of her cancer. She took the time to do the things that she wanted to do, her bucket list at least. She also took time to be with family, capturing images of her family. Dorothea Lange was enjoying herself in Ireland, taking snapshots here and there, freely losing herself. Pictures of children smiling and teenagers growing bigger with adult farmers doing the land, doing their daily chores. It was in 1965 in October where she passed away. Dorothea Lange has been called the greatest American documentary photographer, in part because her pictures gave dignity to people who had lost everything. In one of her interviews, she had quote, "When I start, I am trying to get lost again. I am really express a critical point of departure. That frame of mind that you need to find pictures of wonderful subject. You cannot do it by not being lost yourself. I'm trying to get lost again. It is a process of getting lost. So you live for maybe 2 or 3 hours as completely as possible of visual experience."